On this episode of the Majime Chronicles, I meet Chef Kris, a pitmaster who brought his southern culinary roots from Mississippi all the way to Northern California. I'm here to learn his story, and most importantly, to take a look at the knife he relies on, so I can try to make him something better. The brisket knife, a blade built to glide through meat and barbecue with precision. Will I be able to craft a knife that surpasses his own? Let's find out.
3, 2, 1. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and your journey in the culinary world.
I'm from Abbeville, Mississippi originally, so that's a small town of probably about 400 to 500 people, 10 to 12 minutes outside the city of Oxford. I grew up in my grandmother's kitchen cooking, and so I watched my aunts cook every weekend. My uncle was from Memphis, Tennessee. They would come down every weekend and barbecue. We didn't never need a reason. If it's Saturday, if it's a birthday, if it's just because, or if it's I'm bored, it's like barbecues were always something that we did. As a kid, it was fun. We were really, I wouldn't say broke, but we depended on the land, so we lived off the land. So between my dad's house, my grandmother's house, and his mom's house, we had 5 gardens that we raised yearly, and we raised our own hogs and chickens. My grandfather worked for a cattleman, so we always had beef. So we processed and grew and raised everything that we ate.
You guys became self-sufficient.
Yeah, we were always self-sufficient. We lived off the land, we hunt, we fished, and it wasn't anything that felt like a job or a chore. It's just, it's part of life. This is what we have to do. I can remember as a kid getting off the bus in the afternoon and there's buckets all over the porch. Like some buckets have corn, some buckets have peas, some buckets have beans, and me and my sisters, we gotta do the work just because dad and aunt and everybody else has already picked everything, so we have to help process. That was the process of our life. And at my grandmother's house, there was a smokehouse. So we would hang and cure our meat that we would process for the winter. That was my introduction to smoking. After I was 10, my grandfather passed away and it kind of stopped. We kept gardening, but like the processing part kind of stopped and we would kind of more start to be dependent on grocery stores. But yeah, man, it was a fun upbringing.
Food is like a universal language, but barbecue, I feel, is very different. It's slow cooking in fast times, right, where you're around people, you're able to congregate, you're able to build relationships and community while the food is tender, the fire is tender and everything.
Yeah. Every Sunday, always meals, family meals, large family, a lot of food being made every week. When I started doing this, I just started recanting on all the things that I would eat as a kid, and I started to kind of reproduce those things. It's fun because now I can pull back on all those memories and make those things and share them with the public, and that's kind of my style of barbecue.
People are literally in line to try the food that is not only of your own creativity, but from tradition and heritage, right?
100%.
Like it's your family that brought this.
100%. Every time I cook, it's just remembering like what's going on during that time. Like my heart is kind of really where my love of barbecue kind of came from. Yeah. We cook beef ribs, we cook oxtails, we do smoked turkey, we do pork ribs.
Yesterday I only ate popcorn. So while you're talking to me about this,
I'll make sure you get these before you leave. I'll make sure you get these.
What were some of the biggest challenges you have faced as a chef?
One, finding genuine people or people taking advantage of you. People saw the talent that I had and they wanted to monetize that for their own personal gain. So it's like going through that gauntlet. I've grown so much in these last 5 years, and the person that I am now is totally different than who I'd ever thought I'd be at this point in my life. So at almost 40 years old. So being able to kind of navigate and lead my team and be a better leader, because these guys teach me something every day.
Right. Yeah.
I want this to be an experience to where you learn something during that time.
You're like a young fatherly chef.
I think this is the southern part about about me.
Tell me about your brisket knife. Walk me through. How long have you had that knife?
I've always loved the slicer when it comes to trimming because it's just, I can cover more surface area than with a bony knife. I found that I would have more like, I would say gashes or just like gaps.
Okay.
It wasn't as consistent as the slicer. So being able to have a slicer to trim with, I can do nice angles, I can shape, I can do a lot of things, and my brisket trims come out a lot better.
Upon thinking of what I'm going to make him, as always, I'm going to attempt to make something similar but different. The brisket knife has a completely straight edge used to trim and slice all meat. I will ruffle some feathers by saying that the brisket knife is a funny looking blade, but its unique design comes with purpose. For one at the end of the blade, it is rounded, much like a half moon. This has a twofold purpose. You can shovel slice meat without digging into the cutting board, and it gives some room for slicing in a rock motion if need be. There is a unique grind in the brisket knife alongside the bevels. Dimples or scalloping allows for air gaps between the protein and the knife, allowing for meat to fall off and not stick to the blade. There is one minor flaw in the brisket knife. At the section of the handle meeting the steel is where it can cause an issue. Over time, and like every knife when needing to be sharpened, the brisket knife falls short in function because whatever sharpening method the chef prefers, it is highly likely that the handle will get hit and scratched up. And because of this, you end up getting an arc in the edge, where it will not be able to have full contact on the cutting board. The shape of this slicing / brisket knife is done. We've got about 11 inches of a flat edge, and then you see here it starts to curve towards the tip, which stays true to the brisket knife needing to, rock on the cutting board or, shovel some meat around. Straight. Now that the blade has been hardened, it is time to temper the steel to make it less brittle and then move on to the grind. Because it is a longer blade, I really have to take my time and make sure that the bevels are symmetric for function. I take a few passes on each side and then alternate. I do this all the way until I hit the desired thinness of what I hope will make this slicer perform. But as slow as I am on grinding, I still make mistakes. I ground too thin in this area, causing a dip in the edge, which is a major weak point. So I take it to the stones to flatten the edge, and luckily it all fixed. I then move on to hand sanding. Done. We have polished the knife and it's looking great. It already has an edge right now, so that tells me it's gonna be a good performer. That didn't make a sound. Right, so the one thing that Chef Kris did stress to me is that he's got big hands, so we have to make sure that the handle is comfortable to match that grip. The handle color, the scheme, aside from the technical aspect of it being functional, needs to be awesome. Disgusting. Found it! This is looking great so far. The last step is that we are going to smooth out the facets between the copper spacer. And what that does is gives a little bit more attention to detail, gives a little bit of contrast, and it doesn't look like we just clamped all the pieces together and ground it to shape. These little things make a difference. Now, saya. This is a really cool piece of wood, and the reason why is the spalting has created a certain type of pattern, and what I see is a face. Take a look. You can see the eyes, the hair, the jawline, and this grim-looking smile across. There's a big issue with the saya though. I added some extra length on the edge, and I didn't think about the saya, and when I placed the steel on the wood, there's about 2 inches of space that needs to be covered. The obvious thing is to just get a new piece of wood, but this is pretty expensive, and I might as well challenge myself on a little creativity. I'm gonna add some extra material at the end, and I don't know, I've never done it before, but let's give it a shot. Luckily, I have leftover material from the handle, which I'm gonna use to extend the length of the saya. I drill holes to allow hidden pins to join the two materials together. We're gonna put some mineral oil on the leather so that the epoxy doesn't harden on it, so it doesn't scratch the surface of the steel. This turned out great. I hand sanded to smooth to prime it for a finish to make it a little more weatherproof. Okay. All right, that's it. Let it dry. Done. All right, I don't have a test handle that actually holds this very well, so this is gonna be pretty uncomfortable. I don't think it's gonna get old using a carrot. It is like the best thing to check for resistance. So let's give it a try. God, I don't feel good using this handle. We're gonna cut off the edge, cut off the thicker part. I mean, I can just keep doing it. This is very, okay, all right. Slice through, and we're done. Cool, we know it works. Okay, so we have this chunk of meat here. I'm gonna section it off, cook it, and get a feel for it with the knife. Just gonna go right down the middle. Yeah, that felt like nothing. It's actually harder to cut through raw meat than cooked meat, but we're still gonna cook it off. Done. Pepper. Let's go. I'll be back for you. I'm a big fan of sous vide, but when you pull it out of the bag at first, it's kind of gross. All right, let's go. All right, let's give it a cut. I really should rest this for much longer, but for the sake of time, let's just get on with it. First slice. Look at that. Clean. Let's do one more slice. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with that. Now it is time for the etch. All right, let's see how this turned out. Yeah, so I totally knew that was gonna happen, so I'm gonna brush this on the part where it doesn't fit. Dang, deep etch. Neutralize. You can already see the whole thing, man. This is awesome. Coffee. Okay, let's leave this steel in here for a while and see what happens. Man. All right, this is awesome. We're gonna rinse this off, we're gonna put it all together, and then we're gonna go deliver. Making a knife dedicated to, Southern barbecue, tri-tip, brisket, ribs, all this stuff, I don't think I've ever mindfully done before. So I'm not entirely sure how this is going to play out. And the biggest challenge is making a handle that is comfortable, but also the right size, because he did stress that his hands are big, so, we're gonna find out. With all that being said, let's take a look at the knife. Boom. I am very happy that I miscalculated the length of the saya because it actually turned out better with the gemstone and, the handle connecting. I mean, I'm good with this. Let's just hope it cuts well. We're gonna pack this up. We're gonna hope that TSA doesn't take. Will it cut? All right, this is the moment where Chef Kris gets to see the knife for the first time. Counting on 3, 3, 2, 1.
Love the case, love the case. Right, yo. Nice. Gorgeous. Ooh-wee. Fits in the hand perfect.
Okay, phew.
Fits in the hand.
That was my word. All right, you wanna go try it out?
Yeah, let's try it out.
Let's do it.
That's balance. That's a well-balanced knife. Oh, bro. Like, yeah, cutting through a brisket with this, feel like it's just gliding through. That's no friction, no nothing. That trim took no time. That's like 5, 6 cuts. I'm going straight in with the new knife, right to the middle.
Yep.
That's crazy. It's like it's just falling through. I'm not even doing anything.
Good.
That's butter. I don't even have to push. It's just push and lay it down. Push and lay it down.
To have met Chef Kris, be blown away by his food, hear his story and craft of a knife is a privilege. But now it is time to part ways and on to the next chef of the Majime Chronicles.